Right, and enough of the whole world of football and sports, and now time to get into the marketplace.
Tonight we're going to be talking about human resource management, certifying, ensuring that professionals in that particular field are certified. What does it mean to be certified? And of course, we're going to be delving that in a few.
All right. And from me, I'm usually Stanley Nyeringita. On the sign language interpretation has been Catherine Simaloi. See you tomorrow at 6 a.m. for some fresh coffee. Hibak, goodbye. And
Good
goodbye
night,
for the viewers.
Stanley. And of course, now we walk over to the marketplace where we will be having the CEO of HRM PEB, of course, Mr. Nicholas. We have to talk about how important it is to ensure that professionals in this particular field are certified. When we're starting this bulletin, we asked you, why is it important to certify these particular professionals and all professionals in general? Now I must ask you, what exactly is this board doing to ensure that human resource managers or managers, professionals in that state are certified?
Thank you. Thank you. First, let me start. The Human Resource Management Professional Examination Board is a state corporation under the Ministry of Public Service. It's established by an Act of Parliament and is established to develop curriculum, to examine and certify HR professionals. So back to your question, why should we need certification? Certification is a requirement for you to practice. You have to be certified because it's a requirement by Institute of Human Resource, that is the regulator of the HR profession. And it's also a mark of quality that when you go out, when you are certified, it gives that comfort and assurance that you are dealing with somebody who has the necessary skills and knowledge. Yes.
Briefly, if you could just take us through the certification and verification processes that a typical human resource practitioner would go through under this board.
Thank you. Like I said, it is the mandate of the HRM Pep to certify HR professionals. So the certification process involves satisfying the examination body that you have the necessary skills, the knowledge, and this is through an examination process. Currently, we have examinations for the certified HR professional. And once you satisfy the examination board through an examination, then you are certified. And by certification, it involves gazettement in the Kenya Gazette, which is a repository, and this is a deliberate effort so that the market is able to keep track of all the professionals, and you are able to counter-check their status from the Kenya Gazette. We have a registry where you are able to plug in and then confirm if you are dealing with a professional.
Of course.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. Nicholas, one must consider the high rates of unemployment in the country. Around 35% of the youth are unemployed. And of course, this is the system that they should be taking if they want to be human resource professionals. However, considering that there's already a high rate of unemployment, what would convince the youth to get this particular certification?
Thank you. The certification is very important, and education in general, because it is through education that opportunities open. So sometimes we may look at the unemployment, and I know for young people sometimes it's challenging to encourage one another, to encourage even their children, parents. But we look at the global market. Once you get a skill, skills open up opportunities, skills open up spaces, because you are not limited to work in Kenya. You can work. In fact, we have about quite a number of professionals who've gone through the HR certification, and they are working, like one is a banker in Singapore, others work in Ethiopia, others working in South Africa. So this certification opens up opportunities, and these opportunities are not limited to Kenya. Yes, they are our qualification, that is the CHRP, is recognized across the globe.
Right.
Yes.
And it's very important to ensure that you open yourself up. If you're looking for a job, of course, it's very important for you to note that you must ensure that you have this certification to give you an edge, especially when you're competing with other people in the global scale. A lot of individuals in the human resource field are not necessarily certified, especially for a lot of businesses that may be informal, given that the statistics given is that nearly half of practitioners are not certified. Why do you think this is?
Thank you for the question. We have to acknowledge that HRM Pep is slightly new in the market.
Right.
Because the act that created HRM Pep is Act number 52 of 2012. As an examination body, we started examining from 2017. So far, we've certified 2,242 professionals. And back to your question, it is true that we have quite a number of professionals who are practicing and they have not been certified. And this is because of a myriad of reasons.
Right.
Some is because maybe they don't have time to attend classes. Some maybe finances. There is a wide range of reasons why they have not been certified. And to bring them into the bracket, we are considering, and we are at an advanced stage to introduce recognition of prior learning, where then we are able to gauge the skills they have and have them certified. We have also made it flexible that you need not attend classes in a formal setting. You are able to get materials and study as a private candidate. And we have also made it also easy that as an examination, we have organized an kind of computer-based examinations, so that then wherever you are able to do and attempt our examinations via the computer. So we've a range of avenues to bring those who have not been certified into the bracket.
Of course, there are these challenges that you have, of course, told us, and there is the solutions that you have given. When it comes to the government side, of course, certification and authorization of a lot of these professionals has to go through the government. What are some of the policies and regulations that are either helping you or challenging you as HRM Pep?
Thank you. Now you realize it is in the wisdom of government that the regulation, that the certification of HR professionals was done through an act of parliament. So we must commend the government for having seen it fit that HR professionals need to be certified. And there are various policies and initiatives from government to encourage HR professionals to be certified. So for us, we may not cite that the government has not assisted us. The government has given us an enabling environment. They have given us all the support we need so that then we are able to certify more HR professionals. And suffice to say that we also acknowledge that we need to bring the young people who have completed high school. And we have competency-based programs. We have a competency-based program on certificate and also diploma. And the essence of this one is to bring the freshers into the profession so that then they are able to grow within the framework.
Right. The HRM Pep is relatively young. You've talked about only certifying around 2,000 human resource professionals. This number, considering the businesses in the country, is quite dismal. A lot of businesses are, of course, in the informal sector. How is HRM Pep working towards roping in the informal sector as well?
Thank you. We have, like the curriculum we're using now, we did a benchmark, international benchmark, and we revised the curriculum.
Right.
So we incorporated the views, we incorporated the perspectives of the small and medium enterprises. And so the curriculum we are administering is cognizant of the fact that HR operates at all levels, at high level, middle level, and at the bottom. So the curriculum we have is a good curriculum to address and to bring these people on board That is why we have made our studies and our certification and the process of as friendly as possible.
Right.
That is why previously we started, we were insisting that they had to attend class, but because of feedback, because there are those who may not be able to attend class, that is why we introduced private candidature. That is why we introduced a flexible system of doing exams, all in the hope and in the promise of bringing them on board, so that everybody is not left out, because certification, just like another quality assurance process, is a requirement of everybody.
Right.
Yes.
You've talked about benchmarking other countries. Of course, it's always important, not only in the human resource field, but in all fields, to ensure that we are at par with, the global standards. What are maybe some of the practices, what are some of the examination tactics that you've taken from the international scene?
What we've borrowed, and suffice to say, some few weeks ago, we were in Rwanda, and they were very enthusiastic about this program. They really wanted to know what would be the contribution of our programs towards their development. And back to what you were asking about what we are doing as an examination body, is we want to bring the best from the world into our system. When we were doing the benchmark, as we were reviewing the curriculum, we realized that there are topics, there are areas which are necessary in the practice of HR, things like analytics, things like HR accounting, things like business law enhanced, right, and updated, because we realized that HR does not operate in isolation, that it operates within a sphere of a business environment. So we want our professionals, once they go out, they have a business mind, they are agile, they are well tooled and retooled, so that then they are able to address the challenges of this century and the century to come, not only in Africa, not only in Kenya, but across the world.
Speaking of being agile, Mr. Nicholas, we already have a question coming in here. One is asking, who exactly is HR side on? Who exactly does HR represent? Is it the employee or is it the employer?
Now, taking sides will be a bit simplistic.
Right.
Because whereas in the traditional sense, the HR is for the employee, but we acknowledge that this practice of HR, you do it in a work environment.
Right.
It is in an organized labor. So we come in as problem solvers. We come in as business partners. Because ideally, if you don't look at the interests of a business, you will have nowhere to employ these people.
Right.
So much as we want the businesses to grow, we want the businesses to flourish, so that through the flourishing, through the expansion of business, then our people are able to get employment. So we look at the side of the employee, we also look at the side of the employer, and then we balance interest.
Right.
Because as heads of HR, I know that is a question we have. My life has been in HR, and those are the questions we've always been asked. On one hand, you are an employee of an organization.
Of course.
On the other hand, you are joining management to punish employees. So sometimes now that balance, are you an employee, are you an employer? It's a delicate balancing act, because ideally you have to keep on balancing this interest to make sure that each supports the other. Yes.
And all, of course, in attaining the goal of whatever company or business one is in. A lot of employers have decried a gap between what is taught in schools, what is certified, and what is required in the job field. Where exactly does this gap come from, and how exactly is HRM Pep closing this gap?
Thank you. You will realize that the job market is fluid. It's not solid, it's a moving target, because the skills of yesterday are not the skills required now. When we were doing the review of the curriculum, these are the efforts we did. We talked, in fact, in our committee of experts, we had professionals from the private sector, from the public sector, and we wanted to know from them, what is it that they require from HR professionals? So they told us, we need people who are good with figures. That is why we incorporated the element of statistics and a bit of analytics into the curriculum. They said we want people who can do basic accounting, so that then they are able to look at the figures and see their effect on the overall performance of an organization. So our curriculum put all that into perspective. So I can tell you with confidence that once you are certified as an HR professional with CHRP, you have all the necessary skills, you have all the necessary knowledge to handle the challenges of this world in terms of HR. Yes.
For the youth who is currently watching the marketplace, who can either be persuaded or dissuaded to, get certified in this particular field, could you maybe tell us what is the typical timeline one would take to get certified as a professional in this field?
From the beginning, you see, certification, that's the apex.
Right.
And at the apex, people come from different avenues. There are those who are coming directly from high school, and there are those who are working. The bulk of our students are people who are in employment or who are in practice. So they want to be certified because of the benefits that come with certification. So depending on at what level you are coming in, because our curriculum is structured in part 1, part 2, part 3. Right. That's the beginners, the middle, and the up. So depending, there are those who will start at the bottom, there are those who will start at the middle, and there are those who will start at the top, depending on the experience you have, because you would realize that part of our effort to bring in, we give exemptions. Like, for example, if there are topics you've covered, and if there are areas you are comfortable with, then you are able to give us the evidence, we evaluate, then we give you an exemption. So depending on at what level you come, but assuming you are coming as a fresher, within 2 to 2.5 years, you will have covered what we believe is sufficient content for you to be certified. Yes.
Mr. Nicholas, talking about, certification, you've said this is the apex, this is, the peak of ensuring that you are acknowledged and recognized as a HR professional. The government was looking into ensuring that informally trained professionals are also acknowledged when it comes to certification and being recognized as professionals in this particular field. Is there a way in which people who have experience, not necessarily papers, can also get certified?
Thank you. You would realize that there is a push in government to recognize what is called recognition of prior learning, that is RPL.
Yes.
And it's across all sectors. The other day, the policy, Kenya National Qualifications Authority, launched a policy on RPL. So we are riding on that because we acknowledge that there are professionals in the market who are practicing HR, and they may not have the time or the muscle to go back to class. So we are working, in fact, we are at an advanced stage. We want to look at and set a framework so that then we are able to look at the portfolio, what is it that they have done, so that then we are able to equate this into study hours and then have them certified under that program of recognition of prior learning. So we are at the forefront. In fact, we have been working closely with the Kenya National Qualifications Authority because it's a new concept in Kenya. It's well established in South Africa and in other developed countries, especially the Scandinavian. But that is a concept we want to borrow because ideally we have quite resourceful people who are practicing HR. Most of them are university lecturers. Most of them are veterans in industry. So these are the people we want to bring on board so that then through that avenue, we have them holding the CHRP certificate.
You've talked about veterans and, professors being a part of this particular framework that is being forged to ensure that a lot of people who are not necessarily papered can also get certified. What other stakeholders or who else is involved in this particular process and ensuring the people who need it the most are the ones who can benefit from it?
We are working closely with the industry. That is the Federation of Kenya Employers. We are looking at trade unions. We are looking at the government, Ministry of Labor, State Department of Public Service. So it's quite a mix of the actors we want to assist us in this. And among them is Kenya National Qualifications Authority. Right. Because you see, at the end of it all, we want to have a system where you don't bring in people and then have them certified, and then they start, there is questions in the market that maybe the process was not fair, or maybe they didn't have enough portfolio for them to be certified. That is why we want to be sure that working with the other arms of government and other agencies, that we are perfecting a system which once deployed then we are able to be sure and assure the market that irrespective of how you come in, that once you hold the certified HR professional certificate, you are equal to the task.
Right, yes. And maybe one would ask, human resource practitioners, why is it important to certify them in the first place? What are some of the mishaps that a business may encounter by having people who are not necessarily certified to take up these jobs? I could just go and say, I could be a HR professional. What mishaps could occur from people who are not professionally acknowledged taking up these jobs?
Thank you. You will acknowledge. You will acknowledge that if you took time and looked at the Employment and the Labor Relations Court, if you look at at least from where I sit, 90% of the judgments, they are never about substance. It's about the process. So HR, when you are not trained, when you are not well-versed, you may not understand the need for the process. Because, like I told you from the beginning, on one hand, you are an employee. On another hand, you are a business partner.
Right.
So you are balancing the interests. So, and the balance is a bit delicate. So somebody who doesn't have the skills and knowledge, it is a bit tricky to juggle. And that is why we have a lot of labor relation cases. It's about processes. And you cannot get a process right unless you have practiced, unless you have the knowledge, and unless you have the experience. Now you asked, what is the benefit of being certified?
Right.
It is a requirement that the regulator of the HR space in Kenya is the Institute of Human Resource Management. For you to be registered as a professional, you must have a certification. Number two is a mark of quality. Yeah, just like we have products. There are products we know, once you see even the carton itself, you know what is inside is quality.
Right.
Then number three, we have been licensed by Kenya National Qualifications Authority as a qualification awarding institution. And that is the basis of us doing a certification. Because you see, you have a ceremony in which you are able to tell the world that these are the people I have examined and I am satisfied that they have the necessary skills and knowledge to be able to practice. And as a consequence of that, we are giving them a certificate. And for our certification is a bit different because for us, we make sure that you are gazetted in the Kenya Gazette.
Right.
So that then people don't question. You know, we are living in a world of masquerades.
Right.
People have masqueraded to be what they are not. Yeah, just like a carton. When you see a carton with a photo of, let's say, Kimbo, and then 500 grams times 12, this side up. So even without opening, you are sure that this carton contains this.
Right.
But we are living in a world where you will pick a carton, well labeled, but what is inside is not what is outside. That is why we thought it wise that let's have these professionals we've certified in the Kenya Gazette so that anybody is able to get a Kenya Gazette, because if you say I was certified, like for me, I was certified in 2020. So pick a Kenya Gazette issue number this, then you're able to see. So now it makes it easy for the public. Like if you want a professional, you have somewhere where you are able. We also have a register for us in our website, and also the Institute of Human Resource also has a register. So these are quality assurance measures, so that then you are assured that you are dealing with a professional, not a masquerade.
And in the spirit of upholding professionalism, would you say that there are other fields that are also, mimicking this particular system to ensure that the people who are doing things are the right people to be doing those things?
Like I said, we are slightly new in the market and we are learning from the best. We are learning from the legal profession. The lawyers got it right from the word go. No, law has always existed.
Of course.
Medicine the same. Though, however tight a system may be, there always you find some few masquerades. That's why you see even lawyers, there is a system of verifying. For example, before you engage an advocate, you are able to send this practicing number, with the accountants, the same, the auditors. So we are moving along and we are learning from the best. That the only way to bring order and sanity in the workplace is to have every professional have their people certified. Then it's a mark of quality. Then you are able to tell that indeed you are a master of your craft.
And of course, not only for the employees, even for employers, it is very important to ensure that it is a conducive working environment for your employees so that one gets the best out of whatever principle that they may be running. Kenya prides itself in being an exporter of professionals, an exporter of labor, and making itself a job market, the typical job market for a lot of countries, not only in Africa, but also in Europe and the Middle East. How exactly is this particular certification process acknowledged in other countries? Why is it important to be certified with HRM Pep?
HRM Pep plays a very crucial role in the quality assurance, in the practice of human resource, in the practice of the wider working space. And like I told you, we are benchmarking. You see, best practice, and you can counter-check with Kenya National Qualifications Authority, that you need, like for a curriculum, you need to review it after 3 to 5 years or on a need basis. And the essence of this one is to benchmark what the world has to offer. That is why a curriculum has to be flexible in incorporating the emerging issues. For example, the working place and the titles we hold in HR may not be existing in the next 10 years.
Right.
And why HR is very important, because people ask, now jobs, like you asked in the beginning, that now that jobs are scarce. How sure am I that when I do this program or another program, I'm assured of a job? What will change? So long as there is organized labor, what will change is the titles. But so long as we have organized labor, we have workplaces, we have a need. Because you see, however much we do automation, you cannot automate the human resource.
Right.
You can automate the processes and systems, but you can't the empathy. Because like now the HR of the future, we will need to have people like happiness officer.
Okay.
Yes, that is the future. The titles may change and some slight adjustment in roles, but the essence of the human resource will always, because like you will acknowledge that of all the other factors of production, we have land, we have money, we have all this, but they have to be harnessed by the effort of man for them to bring forth products and services. So the essence of human resource cannot be re-emphasized. And then to cap it, you see, you can standardize land. You will say 1 acre in Mombasa is the same acre in Kisumu, the same acre in Kisii. But you can't standardize human beings.
That's true.
That is why you will have the same people with the same qualifications, same people with the same age, same gender, but their thinking is different. So that is what makes human resource quite unique and irreplaceable. I know there is emerging concern about artificial intelligence.
Of course.
So for me, the way I look at it is they are able to simplify, but they can't replace human resource. So long as there is organized labor, so long as there is a workplace, so long as there is a need. So even practitioners. So for the young people are joining this field, you know, I've done HR for the rest of my life. So I don't know another life apart from HR. So the young people are coming in. There are opportunities in this space. You can either practice as an individual, you can do community, you can operate at whatever level, because the HR, the scope may differ, but the need and the essence of human resource across the world. Because all these innovations you hear, these big multinationals, it's not about the assets as we knew them, the land and the what. The next frontier, where there is wealth, is in innovation, is in creativity. And this is where human resource comes in, because you must provide a good environment for people to be able to innovate, for people to be able to come up with new ideas and solve the problems of this world. And in the process of solving a problem, then you create employment for yourself.
That's very interesting.
Thank you. Yes.
And as you've just said, it's very important to be flexible, not only for employers and employees, but even for institutions such as the one that you are heading. How exactly then are you and HRM Pep adjusting your framework? You've said some of these things are changing. We might not even have HR in the next 10 years. What are the steps that you're taking to adjust your framework so that you may always be at par with whatever is happening in the world?
Now, the agility in the workplace, the agility in the thinking, the agility in our training, because you acknowledge what you knew yesterday may not be valid today. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. So we are cognizant of that fact, that we are in a very fluid environment, in terms of the workspace, in terms of the operating environment. That is why we have taught and we have inculcated in our curriculum the culture of innovation, the culture of shift change. So our professionals know that we are operating in a VUCA environment where tomorrow is unpredictable. But as it may, how prepared are you? And in the essence of this, the element of work-life balance is coming out so well, because you realize we are living in tense lives. We are living in a tense environment. So how do you balance? How do you encourage employees? How do you do flexi time so that then you are able to bring in like working mothers? How do you make a workplace conducive? Because the world we are moving in, just like after COVID, COVID had, we know COVID has always been blamed for a lot of things.
Of course.
But for us, COVID was an eye-opener, because I can tell you, even holding meetings, the Zoom meetings and online, it used to be a foreign idea. But with COVID, we were able to innovate. Like our third certification, it was online. We were not able to do a physical CE certification. So these are kind of the flexibility we have inculcated in our students and the finalists, those will be certifying, so that then they are able to adjust to a world we don't know.
Right.
Because we can only guess, but nobody knows tomorrow.
Right.
But so long as we have people who know that tomorrow may not be what we have today, and they are able to innovate, they are able, that agility of operating environment, and also being flexible and able to solve problems. Because we have also told and inculcated this in the finalist, that the only way to be relevant is to solve a problem. Because if we are not solving problems, then you are not doing anything.
Right.
Because the essence of entrepreneurship, the essence of good practice is to always solve problems as they come. Solve problems, innovate. And that's what we have inculcated in our culture. That's why in the culture of the certification, that is the CHRP, that is why with confidence we say that the people we are certifying, they are able to solve problems. And they have demonstrated that they are equal to the task. And among them is me. I'm a career civil servant. I've worked for about 22 years, all in HR. And having been certified, since certification, my life has been always, it's going up.
Right.
It's just going up.
Right, and one would even wonder, a lot of people didn't know that innovation is also something that is happening in the HR field, and the importance of ensuring that you're always flexible. The number at the moment stands at a little over 2,000 of the people that you've already certified. What exactly is your aim? Say in the next 5 years or so, how many people do you plan to reach who are, of course, being churned out by universities and institutions of higher learning?
We are very optimistic, because like the certification we are going to have on 19th of October, we are going to certify 781. And these are the people we have shift through, and we are sure that these ones meet our threshold.
Right.
So we are going to have the ceremony on 19th at KICC Amphitheatre. And we are projecting that we are going to grow this number. In the next about 5 years, we are looking at about 10,000. Because they are there. They are there. It's only that we need to encourage them to come in, either through recognition of prior learning, or as private candidates, or as students from training institutions. So we need more of this media engagement and outreach, so that then the populace is able to know what we do, and how we will facilitate them to have the certification.
Right. And
so it's work in progress.
Of course.
Yes.
Right, and of course engagement is very important in ensuring that a lot of the Kenyans, or a lot of Kenyans, are aware of whatever is happening in this particular field. You said that recently you were in Rwanda, of course, for benchmarking, or to see how exactly they run HR there, what we can take, what exactly we can emulate. But then, what are some of the things that jumped out to you? What are some of the differences that you saw? How they operate HR there, and how we operate HR here in Kenya?
Thank you. Rwanda has, from my experience, they have very high regard for Kenyan qualifications, and our Kenyan system. In fact, they look at us as elder brothers. So what works in Kenya, and in fact, I went around and I was impressed with the Kenyan brands I saw, I had a privilege of talking to citizens. You know, normally when you want to know the truth,
right,
you talk to the law people,
right,
the shoe shiners, the taxi people. They have high regard for Kenyan qualifications. What we learned in Rwanda is they hold high premium in discipline and qualifications. They don't like cutting of corners. Not that Kenya we cut corners,
right,
but that's something which came out in Rwanda. They also value qualifications. They value hard work. That is what we learned. In fact, for me, there are more to learn from Kenya than us.
right.
And we are ready to, and we promised them that we're able to hold hands because we're in this journey together. We say in life, nobody has a monopoly of knowledge.
Right.
There is what you can learn from a brother and a sister, and then as you perfect your system. So it was my first time to be in Rwanda. It was quite amazing. We had the opportunity when the Mount Kenya University was being transited, or when it was being given a charter.
Right.
So it was quite an experience. We saw the desire of the Rwandan people to come on board. They really wanted to know what is it that the HR will do towards their contribution. They have their own vision, 2030, I think theirs is 2060 or something, I'm not very sure.
2063.
2060, yes.
Yes.
So for us, like you will ask, what is the contribution of HRM Pep and the HR space towards the realization of Vision 2030? You will realize Vision 2030 is premised on 3 pillars, and on the social pillar, and also, in fact, it cuts between social and economic pillar, because HR is an economic resource. And we pride ourselves that we're giving a contribution by giving the assurance that the people we are churning out, the people we are certifying, are capable of also harnessing the potential of their other employees towards the realization of the Vision 2030. And also on the social pillar, that we also promise that we will give our contribution by giving a qualified human resource towards the space and towards the building of the country under the Vision 2030.
Right.
Yes.
Nicholas, you as an individual and as a professional in the human resource field, when it comes to productivity and incentivizing productivity, a lot of employers would think that giving an employee, salaries at the end of the month, allowances, is more than enough incentivization. What then is the importance of emotional well-being and, of course, other forms of incentivization in the workplace?
Thank you. In HR, we have always said, and we say it again, money is not a motivator.
Right.
That is why even you start from the base, then you get increments as you grow up in the profession. At one point, you will realize, because lifestyle, money does not change much. You will get more clothes, get more assets,
right,
but ideally it's not a motivator. So we are moving, in fact, the space of emotional well-being and mental health is a critical issue. That is why people, in fact, we say in HR, people don't move away from jobs. They move away from people. Right. Because if you create a toxic working environment, people will leave, however much you pay them. Because people realize that at the end of it all, the workplace is where you spend a lot of time. So if it's toxic, it becomes very difficult for you to leave. Right. So that is why we have incorporated it in our curriculum, that as HR professionals, create a conducive working environment. Be interested in people. Look at their welfare. Look, these are small things that matter. For example, nursing mothers. Right. When they tell you a child is sick, understand. Because sometimes children have a habit of becoming sick,
yes,
either late at night or very early in the morning. And then, much as you didn't anticipate to be away from work, you find there are other emerging issues. So we tell our professionals, and we have trained them so, and that have a human heart, and that is why the name human resource. So those small soft things, we have incorporated them. Right. How do you bring, for example, financial stewardship? How do you train people? Because rarely are we trained on the subject of money.
Of course.
And that is why we tell our professionals that have these systems into the workplace, advise people on work-life balance, jobs will always be there. Have time for yourself, have time for your family. Also in terms of mental health, when you realize people have pecuniary embarrassment, people have overcommitted salary, able to assist them to go through.
Right.
Because at the end of it all, most of our working life, we spend it at the workplace. So unless it's conducive, unless it is accommodative, it becomes difficult to live. But our professionals have been trained, so they have been equipped, they have been skilled, they have been retooled to be able to create that conducive working environment. That is why we have the confidence that once they start managing people, then they are able to create this environment and make this world a better place for themselves, their children, and everybody.
Right, and as you've said, it's very important to make these adjustments, not only on an individual level, but also at an organizational level. There is a difference between generations. What appealed to Generation X, who are our parents, what appealed to the generation before that, and what appeals to a lot of millennials and Gen Zs is very different. How exactly is HRM Pep having this, in mind when they're setting up the frameworks?
Thank you. You have reminded me the other day, we had an intern who came dressed funnily because he's not in the traditional sense.
Right.
And when I was trying to tell him what we expect of him, so he was telling me, what is your problem on her dress?
Right.
Give me an assignment. Then we had one also who said he prefers working at night. So, and you see, we have, the essence why we have policies is to standardize work practices so that then you are able to agree that let's work from 8 to 5. Unless there are some special circumstances, then we are able to adjust. Ideally is to bring order. You can imagine in a place like this, if somebody had to come dressed the way they want, if they come at you see, you have a program,
right,
news at this, so there is a way the world is organized.
Of course.
So the challenge we have with the Generation Z is that, the world has become a small place. When we were growing up, we didn't have, the information was not as fluid as it is now. So for now, you're able to know what is happening across the world. And some of these habits, some of these have been borrowed elsewhere. Because like on flexi time, this guy is asking, and rightly so. You have given me an assignment. In fact, like this guy used to submit his assignments, you will find via email, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., when people are asleep. But that is how they want it. So it's quite a challenge. It's a paradigm shift because, as you will acknowledge, the kind of workforce we have now, we are transiting, and there are the people coming in. So that is why we have trained our people to be flexible because we know we relive the old times,
right,
the era of procedures, the era of this. So this is a paradigm shift. So we have trained our people that as we bring these young people on board, and we are encouraging the workspace, fast track, bring these people into management so that then they are able to appreciate that why are these decisions made like this? Why are these processes like this? Then slowly we are incorporating also their view of the world. Because like, for example, for a long time, people have been, I don't know, you may be I know you are oscillating between the Gen Z and this one. Huh?
Yes.
For a long time, people are keeping off social media because social media was being associated with the social aspect of life. But you would agree that even all the serious organizations, they're in social media.
Right.
Then the flow of information, something happens and then it is across the world. So we cannot run away from these young people. We must bring them on board. Let's also have a view of how they look at the world and adjust as appropriate.
Adjust as appropriate. That's very important to note. And as we, of course, come to a conclusion, Mr. Nicholas, if you could just tell us, where is the future of certifying HR professionals?
The future is very bright because just like we've been saying, every profession is certifying their people. And this is a quality assurance measure. So that then people, we are living in a world which is unknown. We are living in a world where people need to be sure. If it's an architect, you need to be sure that the person giving me this drawing is somebody who knows, is a master of his craft. And the only way to know is through certification. So for HR, the future is very bright.
Right.
And the future is HR. Because you would agree that whichever way you look at it, HR will always be there, and there will always be need for qualified, professional, tooled, retooled, and knowledgeable human resource.
Right.
Thank you.
That has been the conversation. Thank you so much once again for joining us. That has been the conversation here on The Marketplace. We're talking about certification of human resource professionals, some of the people who are looking to go into this particular profession, and of course, other people who have been within it and who have not been certified. What exactly this means for the Kenyan demographic, and of course, ensuring that the people who are doing these jobs are the people who are supposed to be doing these jobs. I have, of course, been your host here, Hibak Said, and of course, have a very good night. We will adjust accordingly, as Nicholas has said, to ensure that we are at par with the changing times. Have a very good night.